Brought to you by...
Back when I was a young stuffy, the world still embraced the Halloween season with open arms. Houses across the block were decorated with pumpkins, spooky, scary skeletons, and atmospheric lighting. Parents filled their candy bowls in preparation for young trick-or-treaters, and your weekly television shows geared up to air their annual Halloween specials. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. I love a good Halloween special, and it pains me that we now live in an age where that sort of thing has basically been abandoned. One such special that I remember fondly came from an unlikely Disney Channel program that I think actually helped shape many young minds over the years. One that helped bridge the gap between childhood and adulthood for many, utilizing a blend of wacky characters and very adult themes. I'm talking, of course, about Boy Meets World, and its Halloween special, And Then There Was Shawn. When this boy meets world. Firstly, it's important to understand the context of this episode within the larger narrative of Boy Meets World. This episode takes place during the show's 6th season, and is notable for its departure from the typical tone and style of the series. Instead of a lighthearted coming-of-age story, And Then There Was Shawn is a horror-themed episode that is both humorous and suspenseful. The episode centers around the character of Shawn Hunter, played by Ryder Strong, and his friends as they are trapped inside of their high school with a mysterious killer on the loose. The psychological themes of the episode are primarily related to fear and the ways in which individuals cope with high-pressure situations. One of the most interesting psychological aspects here is the way in which it subverts expectations. Typically, in a horror story, the character who exhibits the most bravery and resourcefulness would be the one that survives. However, in And Then There Was Shawn, it is ultimately the characters of Corey and Topanga, for quite a good reason that I'll get to later. Which, Topanga, I can understand. However, Corey is typically portrayed as less competent and less mature than Shawn. Again, there are reasons for this. The subversion of expectations underscores the idea that bravery and resourcefulness can come from unexpected sources, and that courage can manifest in different ways. Another key psychological theme of this episode is the idea of trust and betrayal. Throughout the episode, the characters must navigate a web of mistrust and suspicion as they attempt to determine who the killer is. This creates a sense of paranoia and anxiety among the characters, highlighting the ways in which high-pressure situations can strain even the strongest relationships. In addition to these psychological themes, And Then There Was Shawn also includes a number of clever nods to horror movie tropes and conventions. The episode features a number of references to classic horror movies like Scream and The Shining, as well as more obscure references to lesser-known films. The entire episode is set up to be an homage, a cross between Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None and Scream, placing Shawn as the titular Randy Meeks-style character, with all the knowledge of classic horror films. This episode pulls out all the basics of slasher film tropes: flickering lights, kills off screen, bloody messages on the walls, and a masked killer stalking around in the background of various scenes. Other homages include the janitor being named Freddy, Eric using the "They killed Kenny" and "Heidi Ho" lines that were popularized by South Park at the time, seen in countless horror movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer. The skull-faced killer is very clearly a reference to Scream, as is the phone calls asking if they like scary movies. And there's even a random cameo by Jennifer Love Hewitt playing Jennifer Love Pfefferman, because why the fuck not? Many scenes in the movie feel like they are straight out of Scooby-Doo. The 90s cheese of this one definitely brings down the story from a traditional filmmaking standpoint, but it adds to the nostalgia for those of us who grew up watching Halloween specials like this. Things don't make any fucking sense in the dumbest ways. Jennifer Love Hewitt and Eric get killed by books falling from a not-so-high shelf. But don't let that cheese factor fool you. There are layers to even something aimed so clearly at an adolescent audience. For example, when Shawn asks Mr. Feeney if he recalls being stabbed in the back, this is how he is killed later in the show. The showrunners were smart enough to give us a cue that, spoilers for something from the fucking 90s, this whole thing was a dream. When Eric accidentally destroys the phone, but then it rings again and he answers it when the receiver isn't even attached, this is very clearly supposed to be a cue to the audience that something isn't right, that none of this is real. To take spoilers even further, the big twist reveals that the killer is Shawn, in a scene where Shawn himself unmasks the killer. This leads us to the big lesson of the episode, because all these shows aimed at children had to contain some sort of easily understood message, and this one circles back to the context of the show's overall storyline. This episode takes place after our main characters, Corey and Topanga, have split up, ending a relationship that no one ever thought could end. Here, Shawn is meant to learn that the two constants in his life are no longer together as one, and that he can't do anything about it. It's funny going back to things like this from childhood and realizing how relevant these messages can still be into our adulthood. Overall, And Then There Was Shawn is a fascinating and entertaining episode that delves into a range of psychological themes related to fear, trust, and even bravery. Its departure from the typical tone and style of Boy Meets World makes it a standout episode within the series, and its clever nod to horror movie tropes and conventions demonstrate the show's willingness to take risks and experiment with different storytelling techniques. This was a Halloween special that was very fun to revisit, and I urge any of you who are curious about it to go back and give it another watch. In fact, go back and give Boy Meets World as a whole a rewatch. I know that sounds like a tall order and it's probably going to be kind of cheesy to an adult, but seriously, watching this show from an adult perspective makes you realize how much of an impact it had on you as a kid, and how much it showed you what the world was going to be like in many ways. Friends, that's going to bring this discussion to an end. If you enjoyed this look back at a childhood terror, and you haven't watched my review of Goosebumps The Haunted Mask that I did a few years ago, I'll link that up there, and I urge you to go check it out. It was a fun one to revisit. Also, if you like these style of videos, revisiting Halloween horror specials and things of that nature, let me know down in the comments. I may continue to redo these in the future. I hope you consider giving this video a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and if you really want to help support this channel, please go check out our Patreon. Every little bit helps this channel grow and gets us closer to the dream of being able to make these videos for you full time. Until next time, stay safe, thanks for watching, and happy Halloween.